For more on this, we're joined by John Spencer. He's the chair of war studies at Madison Policy Forum. He's speaking to us from Colorado Springs. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
I wonder if we can just get your immediate reaction to what you just heard from President Zelensky right now, the Ukrainian leader basically laying out the case and offering what his intelligence is showing. So how is Russia benefiting from this war and hostilities in the Middle East?
I mean, I don't think it's benefiting. I think it's been losing for a while in the Middle East, and why, in the show of weakness, it had to go to Iran to get these Shahed drones back in the beginning. And I think it's very credible that when it took tens of thousands of these to bomb civilian sites in Ukraine and do it daily, that they did evolve and upgrade them from electronic warfare and other means, and then return that service back to Iran so Iran could upgrade the drones that we're seeing now. But also the intelligence. I mean, that's not the first report that we've had that Russia provided that intelligence. If you look at this, basically who Ukraine is fighting is not just Russia, it's Iran, it's North Korean soldiers. It's a wicked web that they weave.
So far, it's intelligence, apparently. Do you see Russia maybe eventually becoming to be a bigger part or at least more involved in the war?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's already lost enough in Syria and multiple other places. I mean, it can't, I once sat in meetings where it was viewed as a peer competitor. It's not even the second best army in Ukraine at the moment. I don't think it has any capability to provide Iran, nor the political will. It has signed security agreements, exchanges, all of that with Iran, but in Iran's time of need, I don't think they'll have anything to do with the current conflict. While they were doing that sharing, they did a joint naval exercise before the war kicked off. I think that's very unlikely. There's no certainties in war, but very unlikely.
Sure. No, and that's the key, right? There are no guarantees here. So in your assessment, it would be unlikely. Would it be fair to say that's even practically impossible should the United States and it's mainly the United States opt to maybe even send in troops on the ground, which is something they still haven't taken off the table?
Right, nearly impossible for Iran, for Russia, or China, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, to have a direct impact at this moment, or political will or interest to do so. And yes, you can't take boots on the ground for limited purposes for any reason. You never tell your enemy what you're not willing to do in an ongoing conflict.
Yeah, John, you've set me up nicely for my next question, which is what kind of direct or indirect support China provides to Iran, beyond certainly that oil that's on those few tankers that have made their way through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big card here. China is the biggest loser in all of this. I mean, China gets 20% of its imported oil from Iran, but it's also 90% of where Iran's oil goes, despite sanctions. And it buys it at dirt cheap prices, like $7 to $15 per barrel, 1.6 million a day, just in the energy aspects. But they also signed just last year, a 25-year, $400 billion deal with Iran for infrastructure, transportation, and of course, energy. But really, the only reason we're having this conversation is because China is the reason that Iran had centrifuges, 20,000 centrifuges that were destroyed during the 12-day war. The ability to make those was China. The ballistic missile supplies, how many sanctions, even last year, the United States was putting on China firms for supplying Iran with the necessary components to make ballistic missiles and pursue its intercontinental ballistic missile program that it wanted. But this is also an unraveling of the greater China strategy. So not just in its losses, which is not willing, it's not going to step in and to help Iran. It's just the biggest loser in this situation. But it's also part of that larger thing that China was trying to do in its Belt and Road. I mean, if you add Venezuela and who was buying Venezuela's oil on the shadow fleets in the black market, who bought the Panama Canal and all the ports in South America, this is all part of China's larger plan. But in Iran, it's losing its gas station and its ability to pursue, with Iran's grand strategy, really a new world. And that's now been, that plan has definitely been not torn up, but greatly impeded with this war.
John Spencer, great context as always. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.